Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today I'm so excited to introduce you to author Eric Johnson with Tales from the Cook. This is the second helping, and we're so excited to share it with you. Hi, Eric. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Denise. Glad to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you. All right. So first, I want to know how you came up with writing about Tales from the Cook. How did that come about?
Well, it came about in two ways. Many years ago, a friend of mine's mom, she makes the best pickles in the world. And I asked for the recipe. And I said, what's the secret? Because there are pickles, and then there were these pickles, which were absolutely out of this world. And I was told that she watered her pickling cucumber plants with vodka. And that was a tall tale. So I thought, wow, that's really cool. So I started searching out for other tales of this sort, like grandma's cookies, mom's pies, Thanksgiving meals. What's the folklore behind all of these wonderful meals? Mm-hmm. And after a while, I gathered a few stories, and I thought, well, what if these were fairies and ogres? And what if these were pirates? And what if these were, drunken college students telling these stories and stories about them and how the recipes that they ended up cooking and eating came out to be and came into existence.
They're adorable. They really are
Thank you.
cute. All right. So how did you get into cooking? Because the recipes are actually good too.
It started many years ago. When I was 6, it was the day after Thanksgiving, and my mom was boiling the turkey carcass. And to the best of my memory, I came into the kitchen, I smelled the pot. The house is filled up with the smell of boiling turkey. And I thought, well, maybe this needs something else. So I went to the spice cabinet, and I grabbed some turmeric and some cardamom, and I went over to the stove, and she didn't stop me, and I tossed it in. And I remember stirring the pot and the steam coming up, and I smelled it, and it smelled wonderful. And I was like, what else does it need? So I went and I grabbed some cumin, and I went back to the pot and put it back in. And a few hours later, I made my first curry.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Wow, did you work in any restaurants along the way?
I did. I started working in restaurants when I was 16-ish. Mm-hmm. I worked in a French and Italian cuisine restaurant. The chef was from the Culinary Institute of America. I got a job as a dishwasher because my mom said, get a summer job. And so I did. And then it progressed from there. I was like, well, what are these guys doing? I'd sit there and I'm washing the dishes, which I'll admit I didn't like doing, but I got to watch them, and they were eating shrimp, they were eating steak. I'm like, I want to work over there because, being a 16-year-old, I was hungry. And so I actually bet the chef that I could bone out a fresh duck, remove all the bones and make it a boneless duck breast, boneless duck thigh faster than she could. Mm-hmm. And mind you, I'd never done it. I didn't know how to do it. But I told her I could do it faster than her. And if I beat her, she had to make me a line cook. And so she showed me one of her 3 ducks, and she said, okay, are you ready? I did beat her, but she made me a line cook anyway. And I cut my hands like nobody's business because I didn't really know how to use a knife. But that was pretty much the start of it. And from there, I spent 17 years in the restaurant business, working in Southwestern restaurants, classical French restaurants, Italian restaurants. And then the last restaurant, second to last restaurant, was a Nouvelle Yiddish cuisine restaurant, which was really nice. We did vernikis, we had latkes on the menu, I did a house-cured salmon. So I've got a strong background of cooking.
Absolutely. Wow. Do you cook at home too?
My wife has cooked 4 times in 13 years. So
Wow.
yes, yeah.
That's great. How about your children? Have you taught them how to cook?
My daughter has more interest than my son, although he likes to make curries. He mixes his own curry spice because he really loves curries. But my daughter, this weekend, she wants to make pot au choux and to make eclairs. So I'm going to teach her how to make chocolate mousse, and we're going to make the eclairs and see how that turns out.
Wow. What about grilling? Does he like grilling? Because you had a
My,
grilling. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. I do a lot of barbecuing. I barbecue all year round, because the barbecue is kind of like standing over a nice warm campfire. So if it's 10 degrees outside, I'm still there.
How
I
did,
don't
go ahead.
Go on, please.
How did you come up with the tale for the hollandaise sauce? That was one of my favorites, mainly because there was fairies involved. But
Uh, uh, I don't know. I was thinking about, well, I was thinking about fairies, and I was thinking about, well, they're small and they're flying around, and what if fairies like to eat, right? Well, I thought, well, what if they liked robin eggs? And so there's a lot of folk tale stories about kidnapping and abduction.
mhm.
So I thought, well, what if the fairies also loved hollandaise sauce? So why wouldn't they kidnap a saucier to make hollandaise for their robin eggs? Anyway, so I believe in that story. The saucier puts one over on the fairies to get out of being kidnapped, and anyway, it just I can't describe where the stories come from. It kind of comes from the ether. I read a lot of folk tales, and I think, well, this is cool, and what's that cool? That's cool, and I like to imagine twisting the stories around, putting it in more modern terms.
Hmm.
It's kind of like an actor when he goes on stage, you say break a leg, but for a chef, what did you say? Break a spatula?
Right. It
If they were
was,
going a cooking show.
I know. I love
So,
that story. It was one of my favorite. But how did you get into writing?
um, I actually got a fortune cookie.
A fortune
It
cookie?
said, yeah, I did. It says, you have a wonderful way with words. You should write a book. I actually have it taped to my computer monitor here. So,
Really?
and that was it. And my wife said, you should. Yeah.
That's great. So, why is teaching children how to cook important?
Well, not only does it teach math, it teaches science, and it teaches kids about other cultures, because as you explore the world of food, you invariably learn about other peoples and what they like. And we all know the fastest way to anyone's heart is through their stomach. And so, it opens up the mind. It also, the smells, the sense of smell is the fastest and the strongest way to create a memory with
Hmm.
the person. Because, if I say mom's cookies, if you think about it, you can kind of smell the vanilla and the chocolate and the butter and the flour, and you can smell that baking. It's just a really, really strong sense to stimulate. And I like to use it in the ways of creating the memories for my kids, because they'll always remember, oh, my dad's curries. My daughter will say, that's way too spicy. My son will say, I could eat hotter, So,
Wow. And you're also in a writers group on Facebook called 10-Minute Novelist. Can you tell us a little
right.
bit about that? How did you get involved?
Uh, well, I was on Twitter almost the same way that I ran into you. And Catherine, the creator of the group, she said, well, why don't you come and check us out? So I did. And here I am 3 years later. I'm an administrator for the group. We almost have 9,000 members. We do weekly genre chats. We talk about story structure, everything that under the sun that comes with being a writer. How to manage your time, We were lucky enough last year to be in Writer's Digest. We were number 6 in groups, online groups for writers' advice. And yeah,
Wow. In
it's,
2016, Reader's Digest is one of the best sites for advice.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we really tried hard. She wrote a book on how to write a book, and it's very, very good. It's called How to Write a Novel in 10 Minutes a Day. Um, and it's a really good guideline. It's a great outline for anybody who would like to try to write a novel.
Wow, that must be a feat.
It
Right.
is. Yeah, well, I mean, since I joined the group, I've written 2, and I'm finishing up a 3rd, in addition to these cookbooks.
Wow. So can anyone join the group or?
Anybody can join the group.
Oh, so you have a lot of up and coming novelists there. That's great. So you
Yeah,
combine
8.5, roughly.
8.5?
It's 8,500 of us, or 8,500 members.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
yeah, it is.
That's
It's
crazy.
it's hard answering all the questions some days because there's just so many coming in.
So you're combining your love of food, fantasy, history, writing,
Yeah,
culinary folklore.
that's it. Um, I wish more people would do it because there's a lot of stories out there that I would love to hear.
And you grew, or for a while, your family lived in Africa when you were young?
We did. I believe it was 1969 to 1973. So I was young,
Hmm.
but
So
anyway.
what type of memories and food did you bring back from there?
Well, I was in a British school. I remember the school. I remember the school uniform. I remember being on the Serengeti. I remember seeing lions and giraffes and elephants. You know, we did the safari thing, and it was fun. But I remember most of all the food. I remember the beef stew with the turmeric and the spices, and the ugali, which is a cornmeal mush. Um, and I was really young, but I've got specific memories. But most of all, it was the flavors and the smells, and just being there. I remember we had an avocado tree in our backyard. I remember climbing that. When it was nap time, I would sneak out the bedroom window and go climb the tree, and my mom calling, "It's your nap time," and so it's just little kid memories.
That's awesome, though. It definitely comes out in your writing and your stories that you still have that kid in you because they're adorable. They're funny, they're sarcastic, you
Yeah,
know?
it's me.
So tell us about some of the food that you like to cook that came out in Tales from the Cook, a second helping. And there's Tales from the Cook, the first book. Is there going to be a third?
I just finished the 3rd.
Ooh, what's it called?
Uh, Tales from the Cook, back for thirdsies.
Back for
So,
Thursdays?
yeah.
That sounds
Well, Eddie, it is good. So in Tales from the Cook, there's my hollandaise recipe. That was one of the first sauces I learned to make
wow,
when
is
I
that
was a
it
kid.
looks really hard.
I've been making it for a few years. It's actually, once you know how to do it, it's really easy. Um, I learned to make hollandaise, I think, when I was 8 or
Hmm.
9. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful egg sauce with clarified butter. Whip it in. It's a little bit tart because of the lemon juice in there. That's one. Sauerkraut. I've always loved sauerkraut. So getting back to the camp story, um, I've always wanted to make sauerkraut. And I was reading up on it, and I said, I need to do this. Anyway, then I thought about uh, things that parents send with their children when they send them off to camp.
Mm.
And so I thought, well, what if, because parents love to embarrass their children, what if some parents sent their daughter to camp with sauerkraut? What would happen? Anyway, it's really easy. I mean, it's cabbage. It's a tablespoon of salt to a whole head of cabbage. You stuff it into a mason jar and let it sit for a few days after you cover it, and then the salt leaches the water out of the cabbage. It begins to ferment and bubble and stink, and you let it go for 2-3 more days after that, and you have sauerkraut. It's so incredibly simple, and it's delicious. It's sour, it's crunchy, it's salty. I'm happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the Lonely Prep Cook. The clams.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with the Pernod cream sauce. The Lonely Prep Cook. Hold on. I have to remember all these stories because I haven't thought about every story that's in this book in a while. I believe he's the lonely prep cook, and all he wants is someone he can talk to. But he talks so much, everyone doesn't want to talk to him. Until one day, when a new hostess is hired at the restaurant, the manager says, I'll make him the ambassador to her, and we'll deflect him and have him talk to her. Anyway, so
how did the recipe come about with the clams and the cream sauce?
Pernod cream sauce, absolutely fantastic. Years ago, I worked at a restaurant, and we did a lobster ravioli with a Pernod cream sauce. Oh, it was delicious. And then years later, there was this other restaurant that I really liked, and they did a mussels, right? And one day I said, hey, do you guys have any Pernod? Because they did it in a cream sauce, garlic and chili peppers and parsley, and it was good, but they used white wine. I said, hey, could you throw some Pernod in there? And it's got this really nice anise, this light licorice flavor to it. And I thought, wow, I need to do this. I need to cook this at home because it's just the flavors it's so rich, it's so warming with garlic and chili flake and the Pernod. How did that come about? It's when you're cooking. You've been cooking for a bunch of years. It's inspiration on the fly. You're like, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and learning my love of Pernod from that one restaurant I worked in. I was like, I need to do this.
Definitely. Now tell me a little bit about, is it Bayou Rouge? It's a Cajun dish.
Oh, the mushrooms. Oh, that's a ghost story. But the in the town there, I don't want to give too many spoilers. I'm going to talk about the recipe. Okay, so I was thinking about crab boil one day, right? It's a Cajun crab boil. It's got cayenne pepper, it's got black pepper, it's got salt. And I thought, well, this could be kind of used like a tea. So you take the spices, you can use water or you can use stock, chicken stock, beef stock, or whatever you want. And you steep that and you spice it. Kind of not unlike pho, like a good pho broth. And then you cook the mushrooms in there. And I thought, well, why not like a Cajun kind of brothy pho? So using Cajun spices, you take the principles of the Vietnamese pho, but with just the mushrooms. I love mushrooms. Mushrooms are fantastic because, well, everyone knows mushroom flavors. And either you like them or you don't, but I love them. And so, but I like them spicy. And again, it was just, why not try this? Now that recipe I've made it at least 24 times since I came up with the idea for the story. And every recipe in that book I've made at least a minimum of 5 times. The hollandaise sauce, I've been making that since I was, 8 years old. So I've made it a few hundred times.
Wow. Is there any recipe that you have that you wouldn't share yet? Or that you haven't shared? No, anywhere. Do you have a favorite recipe in life that you haven't shared?
Yeah, my salsa.
Your salsa?
I make salsa. Yeah, it's a secret. It's spicy. It's flavorful. It's robust. It's got tomatoes. It's got cilantro and some onions, and that's as far as I go on it. But the type of chili that I use is the secret. So
Wow.
mum's the word.
All right. What about your ribs, the barbecue sauce? That looked really good. The Governor's Delight.
Oh, the Governor's Delight. Thank you. Sorry, I need to again.
I know, I'm just getting hungry. It's okay.
Um, Barbecue sauce is a wonderful thing. I believe that's my low sugar recipe.
Hmm.
Um, it seems to be that the ketogenic diet is pretty popular, so you're going for ultimately low carbohydrates. So I use ancho chilies, pasilla negro chilies, and use again you bloom them in boiling water, and then with garlic and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the recipe because.
It's okay. I'll
But
have to find
anyway,
the book to get all of the ingredients.
right. So anyway, you bloom the chilies in water. You remove the stems and you remove the seeds, and then you puree them, and then you run it through a fine sieve
Hmm.
to get the little bits of skin from the dried chili peppers out. Um, and I blank on the rest of the recipe. I'd have to
They're
refresh
really
my.
good.
Yeah, it's again. I've made that a few dozen times, and you know, uh, it's one of my personal favorite ones.
I know. I
As
can't
I
wait to
kind
try some of these. What about the New
right.
Orleans fizz?
Oh, the New Orleans fizz. I like a cocktail now and then, and that is made with egg whites and
Gin,
oh,
sugar
that's right.
syrup, cream.
Lime juice, egg whites, cream, and orange flower water. New Orleans fizz is a traditional uh, gin drink. It's really simple to make. You put all the ingredients together in a shaker. You shake it, and then you pour it over ice, and you hit it with a splash of soda water.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's nice. It's light. It's refreshing. Um, I don't necessarily like a strong cocktail, so I use about half an ounce. I believe they call those light alcohol drinks shims. Um, just a nice light, orange water flavored cocktail.
Absolutely. So, what
Yeah.
was your favorite book growing up of all time?
Oh, I've read so many. Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I liked Have Spacesuit Will Travel by, oh my goodness, I just forgot who wrote it. But anyway, it's a good story.
Hmm.
Uh, well, I have to say The Hobbit. I loved The Hobbit as a kid because, you know, hobbits eat. They
Absolutely.
eat, first
I think
breakfast,
tales
second
from the
breakfast.
Hobbit's life show up in your books too.
I think so.
Yeah, I think there's a little Hobbit influence. They're,
Could be.
yeah, I mean, it's great stories. I think it's stories that you could try with a group of friends, reading the stories and trying to recreate the recipes. It was just
You
so
know,
much fun.
ultimately, that's what I would like to see people do: is to have a group of friends over, have a have a New Orleans fizz, and read the stories and cook the recipes together. Because yeah, that sums up my desire, for people to do with the book.
Well, it's
Yeah.
definitely a fun book to do it with. And I can't wait to see the next chapter or the next in the series.
Yeah, another 25 stories and another 25 recipes. Um, and then I'm thinking about doing a fourth. I'm not sure yet. The inspiration comes. I actually wrote this third one in about a week.
Wow.
And so, right, but the stories took a week, but the recipes have taken me, it's about 8 months now.
Hmm.
Because I'm gonna have to, because you have to cook each recipe at least 3 times to make sure. And I'm not going to do that to my family. It's like we're eating the same thing again over and over and over. So I have
That's
to,
great.
sparse it out.
Absolutely. So, advice for young people, writers, and wannabe cooks. Do you have any last
Um,
minute advice?
I do. People who want to write a book, go for it. Don't listen to anybody. Get it out. Every word that's on your mind, anything that you can think of that might work in the story, because you're looking for a first draft. And first drafts are always terrible. Even Stephen King writes terrible first. No, like he doesn't write terrible first drafts. But anyway, um, most writers write something that doesn't resemble what the end product looks like as far as the story goes, but they get all of their ideas out.
Hmm.
Um, and so write. Don't let anyone tell you different. Don't let anyone say, oh, I don't like that idea, and don't get discouraged by that. Don't listen to them. Don't share with your family. Don't share with your friends, because they're the worst critics of all, because they know you. So they like to say, oh, that doesn't seem like you should be writing something like that. You're saying this? That's crazy. Why would you say that?
Hmm.
For people who want to become a chef, start cooking. It's the only way. Buy as many books. Build a foundation. Study Escoffier. Study Madeline Common. Do it. Just get out there, go buy the ingredients, and try it. And have as many disasters as you want. And don't worry about it, because, it's the only way to learn. Get out there and make mistakes and learn from them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. It
You're welcome,
was
Denise.
it was a pleasure learning more about how you write and how you came to these stories and the great recipes that you share. We really appreciate it.
I
And
thank you.
until next time, keep asking questions. The answers are out there. And this book may give you some great ideas for new recipes and stories.